And also, so the blockchain, another way to think about it as a metaphor, I like to think of it, it's kind of like a fly that's trapped in amber. You know, over time, additional layers of amber are going to accumulate around the fly, but it's unchanged and it's going to be there for the test of time. Any questions or anything?
Yeah. What's a ledger?
It's just like a record of transactions. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and this is how blockchain transaction typically works. You have two parties, A and B. They wish to send some Bitcoin. A wants to send Bitcoin to B. They have each of them has a public and a private key. Their private key is only known to them. The public key is what's broadcasted to the network, and that's what actually shows on the blockchain. The interaction is broadcasted to all the thousands of computers across the network. They validate the transaction. Once it's validated, a new block is created and it's added to the existing block or the existing chain, and voila, you have the transaction. A few key points that I'm going to keep coming back to, and that I'm sure already hit those on the head, but traditional currency is controlled by a centralized authority. In the U.S., the Federal Reserve. It's bound by borders. It's costly to move money across borders. It can cost as much as 10% to send money to China or wherever else. You also have massive transaction fees. If you go to the store and use your credit card, they take 2-3% immediately. The blockchain is completely decentralized. It's kind of like the internet in that no one can take down the internet. No one can destroy the internet. As long as one computer is running the blockchain continues to operate. And the fact that we have tens of thousands of these computers all around the world running the blockchain really maintains that integrity of the blockchain. It's completely borderless. It takes minutes, if not seconds, to send Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other of the cryptocurrencies across borders. And it's very, very cheap. It takes maybe a fraction of a penny in order to send a transaction. So why does decentralization matter? There is no single point of failure. As I mentioned before, no one can take it down. It's basically, you have the best hackers trying to break into the core Bitcoin blockchain, and they've been completely unable to. Because that means they have to overtake at least 50% of all of the computers on the blockchain network. In order to do so, I mean, that would take some immense effort. And so you have some of the best hackers that have tried to hack and break into Bitcoin, but they've been unable to do so. Now, that being said, you might have heard about some hacks that have occurred, and that have really only happened to the exchanges themselves. And the exchanges, they're kind of like E-Trade. A few of the ones that I use include Coinbase.com, Poloniex.com, Kraken.com. These are kind of centralized companies where they allow people to transact and send Bitcoin or Ethereum or other cryptocurrencies amongst themselves. And those actually have been hacked, but there are ways to protect your currency, as I'll get into as well. Now let's talk a little bit about Ethereum. So who here has heard of Ethereum? Anyone?
In the news in the news they spoke about it. It was valued from $300 to 10 cents.
Yeah, that was actually just on one exchange, but the value, then it bounced right back up to over $300.
But scary,
yeah.
kind of.
As I said, I mean, there's a lot of volatility in this market, so that's something to keep in mind. But Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, and it's the one that I'm the most excited about. It's a little bit newer than Bitcoin. It was created in 2015 by a young software protege, Vitalik Buterin. Ethereum is basically can do everything that Bitcoin can do, except it can do more. It's a platform for creation of applications on top of the blockchain. So it's not just about having the public ledger of the transactions themselves, it's about actually building applications on top of that. So building complete computer algorithms or code on top of the blockchain, which is really why people are calling it the Web 3.0. Also, the Ethereum model is considered the next generation of crowdfunding through ICOs, which I'll get into as well. Also, Ethereum has been experiencing some widespread adoption as well. As you can see in the New York Times just a few days ago, they actually published a piece that's saying, move over Bitcoin, Ether is a digital currency of the moment. It's really starting to gain more awareness amongst the public, although I still think 99% of the general public has no idea what it even is. So what exactly is a smart contract? I mentioned the applications that can be built with Ethereum on top of the Ethereum blockchain. A smart contract is each individual application. So essentially what it is a piece of code that automatically executes when a specific set of conditions are met. And they're basically meant to help you exchange anything of value, including money, property, shares, deeds, mortgages. Basically anything that you can store as information can be exchanged and automatically set by a certain set of instructions if those instructions are met. The way I like to think about it, it's kind of like a vending machine. You go up to a vending machine, you throw in $1, you choose a Snickers, the Snickers becomes dispensed, and voila, you have that was basically a contract. You put in $1 and you get Snickers in return. And it was automated through the electronic software of the vending machine. Now, these smart contracts, they have so many different applications. It would take hours to even skim the surface of it. And I want to give you a little bit of idea as to what they are. Imagine having an open source, globally accessible supercomputer made by the individual resources of your smartphone, of your laptop. Let's say your smartphone is lying idle and you want to make some extra cash and you don't mind if someone uses or taps into those resources. Ethereum allows you to actually tap into those resources for graphical rendering, for scientific modeling, for some of these high-intensive, resource-intensive industries that need that power, and they will actually pay you to do that. They'll pay you for using the resources of your phone. And there are companies already kind of building these products. A few of them include Golem, Swarm, and Storage, a couple of which I'm actually invested in. A couple other examples. Imagine having a network and a secure intellectual property. So what if you publish a piece of work and it was that you want to be immutable, you want to be up on the internet, and you don't want anyone to be able to touch it. You want to kind of be part of this vast social network that people can't tamper and they can't touch. There's actually a company working on that using the Ethereum blockchain so that no one can take it down, no one can change it. And the name of that company is Akasha. Imagine having imagine having digitized perks or assets of value, kind of like if you go to, if you have miles on your card and you traditionally use that to fly from New York to Boca for free. Imagine that instead of using those miles, you'd rather sell them on the open market. You want to rather get cash instead of using those miles. There's actually a company that is using, that is allowing people to kind of trade those tokens or reward points on the Ethereum blockchain. And that company is called, there's Ether Delta, Oasis Pro, and Swap. There's also something known as the prediction market. Imagine what if you could find out what something is worth to the world prior to that item actually being available for purchase? That thing could be a work of physical art, like a painting. It could be a service, like flight insurance. It could be the value of a company's stock, or even the likelihood of Trump winning the next election, or even betting on certain sports events. So there are these wide-scale prediction markets that people around the world can kind of chip into to determine the value of certain events occurring, and you can actually bet on those things transpiring and make money in the process. And that's another company I'm invested in called Augur. So as you can see, there are so many different applications, and we're just kind of skimming the surface as to what these smart contracts can do. And it's still so early in terms of development that there's so many new breakthroughs that are going to come to the market in the coming months. So what exactly is an initial coin offering? This is an ICO. It's kind of analogous to an IPO, an initial public offering, in that when companies want to raise money, they'll go out to investors. Usually they're friends, usually accredited institutional investors, to raise hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. Now, there's another way to raise money that you and I and everyone who's not part of that group can benefit from. This is basically the newest form of crowdsourcing or crowdfunding. Now, on the Ethereum network, these new projects, what they do is they'll go out into the market, they'll have a beta that people can actually interact with and test. and they'll hold an ICO. And that will usually occur for a few days, maybe a few weeks. And anyone using their Ethereum, they can ship whatever Ethereum they have into that project to actually help fund that project. And in return, they get tokens, which are valuable for that project and usually appreciate in value very, very quickly. So it's kind of like the new era of raising money for projects, except people all around the world can do so. And they can do so no matter if you do it, whether it's $1 or $100,000, $150,000, it really doesn't matter. So you might be thinking,
What was the total number of ICO values? 330?
yeah, actually that's outdated. it's a lot more by now.
It's in the last week, didn't the
Yeah.
one have like 200 something?
Yeah, there's actually 2 projects in the last week. There's Banker, which raised $150 million, and there's Status, which also raised about $110 million, and they did so virtually within minutes.
But, if I may, how does
Yeah.
that work? How do you cash out on that? Like, how do you use those funds? Does it work with like Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's all based on a smart contract. So basically, you'll send it to a specific address. There's a team that develops the project, and they use the money to develop the project. And within a certain time frame, which is specified within the smart contract, automatically they're going to return the tokens, which are of value, and you can trade on open markets. They return it to you to the address that you sent it from.
Isn't it hard to get access to that though? So they pretty much, they offer it to whales mostly?
Well, that's something that is part of kind of like the growing pains of this ecosystem. There are some issues with people with a lot of money really flooding these things and buying them up before other investors really have the chance. But there are new projects coming along. There are instituting caps, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that moving forward. Where they have caps where you can only send a certain amount of Ethereum from each address. So in order to prevent that from happening from whales or people that have a lot of money from gaining all of those tokens. So the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, this is basically a large consortium, a large group of established companies, global, huge financial, insurance, technology, consulting, companies that are of global size and involved in many different industries. They are all, basically they made a monetary commitment to explore Ethereum and to explore the use cases of Ethereum. So there's this new group that was established in the beginning of this year. It includes names like Microsoft, like Toyota, Deloitte, Intel, so you have large banks, you have large technology companies. They made a monetary commitment to actually explore the use cases of Ethereum. So this is very early on, and obviously they don't know exactly what Ethereum can be, but they made a commitment to at least explore what it can be and to somehow adopt the blockchain to some capacity. So we're going to see a lot of new interesting news coming from these companies as well, because I think that if they see the value in Ethereum specifically and cryptocurrencies at large, then I think everyone else stands to gain as well. All right, now let me talk a little bit about Crypto Advisors. So this is kind of the fund that we are putting together. We're actively seeking for new investors to jump on board. We want to be a part of this. Obviously, there's a lot of information to take in, and this is the first meeting that we hope to have with many. This is my first time giving this presentation, which is maybe why it's not as polished as it could be. This is something that I've kind of dived into head deep in the last 6 to 7 months. And I've really been just introduced to all the possibilities of what this can be. And I really want to open up for other investors, other people that want to come on board to be able to benefit from this in the same way that I have. Luckily I got in at a good time, and I'm following the markets and following the forums and the technologies on a day-to-day basis. So I'm following what are the new projects that are coming to market. I'm following what exactly is going on with Ethereum, with Bitcoin, with some of these decentralized applications being built on Ethereum as well. So we actually started an investment fund. It's called Crypto Advisors LP. It's a limited partnership. But we really believe that these cryptocurrencies have reached a tipping point driven by institutional corporate acceptance and also mainstream awareness. And I think there's just so much more room for growth because, I mean, you're just a few amongst you're among the lucky few who would even know what Bitcoin is or what Ethereum is. And I would, if I had to guess, I would say only 1% of the general population even knows what these technologies are. And these, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, they both really rocketed in value in the last 6 months. And that's because people are starting to take notice and they're starting to join the exchanges. There's a much higher demand for these things. And there's a lot of new money flowing into it. So our goal as part of our investment thesis is to invest in the most transformative and groundbreaking blockchain-focused initiatives. A little bit more about the fund. I mean, we offer investors quick, safe, and efficient access to cryptocurrencies without the hassle of them keeping them or storing them, or becoming verified in the exchanges, which is a process in and of itself. Actually, I have a good relationship with some of the exchanges that I have a lot of liquidity with the exchanges. I can purchase or sell up to $250,000 worth every single day, which takes time. It took me 6 to 7 months in order to build that rapport with them. And also, I secure everything on what's known as cold storage. So instead of keeping them on the exchanges, which are the central security concerns, the actual points that are vulnerable to hacking, I take them off of the exchanges. I just use them to buy or to sell. I take them off the exchanges. I hold it on a specific device known as the Nano Ledger S, and I safeguard that. But also, even if that thing is stolen or destroyed, I have a backup code to make sure no one can access it, or even if someone takes it, I'll just buy a new one and I can put in that code and redeem all of the value that I have standing there. So what we deliver is execution. We monitor the markets very closely, investment experience, and security. And as I mentioned before, what we're really hoping to do is build a diversified portfolio of Bitcoin and Ethereum-based tokens. These are a few that I currently own, amongst others, but obviously Bitcoin, Facto, and Ethereum, Golem, which is kind of that supercomputing technology where you can tap into the resources of an individual computer, an individual phone, and be paid for doing so. Augur, which is the decentralized prediction market, so actually making bets on certain events happening in the world. And there's